Tarot for World on Fire. Tarot readings, one with the seasons, to explore personal and collective healing as a strategy to let the world we once knew decompose and cultivate a new world that deserves it. My name is Blair. Free to take your time, breathe into the space, take a deep breath. And thanks for being here. Hey, y'all. Welcome. Thanks so much again for being present today as we do this collective tarot reading for Tarot for World on Fire. My name is Blair once again, and I'm part of the Rooted Collective. The Rooted Collective is a liberatory gathering of Black LGBTQ people to define, dream, and expand on the ways we heal from oppression and practice joy and pleasure. We root our work in the knowledge that healing for all Black people is political resistance. And I also run a practice called the Light Alchemy, which is a place that provides coaching, facilitation, support, integrated healing for individuals, collectives, and feel free to check me out there if you like individual or collective tarot readings at lightalchemy.com. Whew. I am tired. So tired. And as I was preparing even for being in this space today, the level of effort it took to even show up, to sit, to record something, it took a lot. And there's just a heaviness in everything. Just a heaviness in everything. And I was like, all right, so what are you gonna do, Blair? Are you gonna do this thing or not? What's the vibe? And ultimately, yes, I wanted to make it a little bit more condensed and compact with some words that were just coming up as I was just sitting in silence and like reflecting on what the season is inviting, what this winter is inviting for us in this moment. As these readings really are about those seasonal shifts and just creating points for us to pause and acknowledge that change is possible and change can happen every single day. Like where to start? This moment is a lot. And it's been a moment on top of moments on top of moments that have been a lot for the course for many of us, our entire lives, right? These moments will become clearer, awaken to understanding of the impact of racism, of colonization, witnessing genocide. We've experienced these things sometimes in our own communities already, right? So some of us actually have been here before, very clearly and deeply. The newness that exists in this moment is really uncovering the layers to be very clear, I'm talking explicitly right now about the genocide of Palestinians, awakening us to, on a global scale, really, to the impact of, again, colonization, racism, imperialism, and the ways it's impacting Black folks and brown folks across the world, and how deeply entrenched it is into every single system we exist in. Again, not new information for some of us, hella new information for others of us, right? And the fact that we're able to see it play out every single day and witness the clear contradictions in who our allies are, what language is being used, can be hella overwhelming, right? Um, and so as we're in all of this, I'm even like sitting here on like a fucking Apple laptop being like, this machine, the things that have created this machine are contributing to genocides, right? Thinking about the extraction of minerals in places across the African continent, explicitly thinking about the Congo, and Sudan, and just so many spaces where that's happening, in my ancestral home, right? Uh, so it is a lot. We're all complicit in some way in this, right? And so I think the difficulty right now that we're sitting in is both the awareness and the awakening that's happening, but also getting a lot clearer and a lot more uh, connected to the ways in which just by breathing the air that we're breathing and existing in the world that we're existing in, the countries, the spaces, how there's complicity in that, right? And that is a hard thing um, to be in, to sit inside of. And so a couple of things which are coming up really clear, I think, in preparing for this reading and thinking about the seasonal reflection. Um, One is that it's so important to root ourselves in rigorous study, be in deep inquiry, be in deep truth finding, right? Um, Following the pathways and the histories and the stories of the most oppressed peoples in the situations, the ones that are experiencing um, lack of access to land, to safety, to food, to water. Um, to be in the tumbling of grief that's happening in this moment too. Um, and allow yourself to flow into that. And through that tumbling, be in the transformation that shows up at the same time, be in the clarity that might be coming to you at this time. This is one of a long series of moments in which we're no longer the same. And the question is always, what do we do inside of those moments of transformation? Who are we becoming? How are we getting clear about what our roles are? Um, how are we committing to that role? Is it street organizing? Is it disrupting? Is it writing? Is it sharing? Is it visioning? Is it healing? Is it making art to tell the stories? Is it storytelling? Um, what is your specific role? If we can get so stretched by how many roles that there are that we can play and feeling called to all of them, this is a moment to pause and get really clear about what yours is, my love. What's your thing? And be in that and commit to that. It's also really important in this moment, as activists and organizers, especially as Black, queer, and trans people, when we're deep in movement work, it becomes so easy to forget our bodies, that we even have bodies that need tending, that need care, that also need food, that also need water, that also need rest. And so like one of the biggest things that was coming in too was like, baby, lay your ass down. Just use this moment just to pause, just for a moment. Winter is that time of deep reflection, deep um, uh, integration, deep hibernation. We get to really, the invitation is to go inward and do that horizontally. Do that while laying down. Um, really be thinking about what you can put down in this moment. That will allow you to sustain for the long term. Because the uncovering is real and it's sharp and it's hard. And this has been named before, but it's only going to get sharper and harder. There's a lot more uncovering that has to happen. We're not yet done. And so how do we prepare ourselves for that? We can't do that without rest and taking a pause and asking your body what it might need, you know, to sustain yourself for the long term. So the invitation, the medicine really is to take a nap, is to slow. Look outside and see what feels like it's slowing outside and mimic that practice for an hour, for a minute, for a day. Decide what needs to be put down in this moment. What's burdening you that's like, I'll come back to you later, but we're just going to sit you down right now, just so you can turn the energy inward and focus on how you're going to keep yourself well um, inside of a really unwell world. How will you keep yourself well inside of a really unwell world? And that's where the collective comes in, right? Really being deeply informed and connected to your people, to your movements, to the people that you choose. Because relationships are our power, relationships are our wealth. And in this moment, especially as we think about what it will really take to sustain hope and get to collective liberation, our relationships are the things that will keep us sharp, that will keep us grounded, and that will keep us able to do this for the long term. So really be in that reflection, be in that pause, and be in that rooting in your people. That's the message for winter. And so we're going to move into the tarot reading. And the tarot reading, of course, being a integrated moment to be thinking about both the seasonal reflection and also what the cards come up with as it relates to things we should be focusing on in the season. So I'm going to be shuffling the cards with the question, of course, what should we collectively be paying attention to as we move into the winter? What should we collectively be paying attention to as we move into the winter? What should we collectively be paying attention to as we move into the winter? It was a card that kind of popped up a little bit inside of the shuffling I was doing. So I'm going to talk about that card. I didn't pull it out because I wasn't sure if it was just accidental, but it was intentional. So I'm going to talk about that too inside of the reading. Okay. So the first card is the Seven of Pentacles. Second card is the Wheel of Fortune. And the third card is the King of Wands. All right, cool. So I'm actually going to start with the card that came up, that popped up a little bit as I was doing some of the shuffling. And so that card that I did not show you, but was in the cards, was the Six of Cups. And so Six of Cups is a card. Cups are part matters of the heart, our emotions, our loves, our communities, right? Matters of the heart show up when Cups cards show up. And Six of Cups explicitly is really about rooting ourselves in our histories, rooting ourselves in our ancestors, um, rooting ourselves in like uh the joy, the um sweetness, and the lessons inside of our lineages, and using that as a foundation to work from. And so part of this ask that exists around rest right now is that when we move too quickly, we sometimes miss message that's coming from our ancestors, right? From people that have walked this world before, from our elders that are actually still here and have things to share with us. Um, and so, in that silence, in that stillness, in that pause, light a candle. Find some old pictures of mentors, of uh, personal heroes, of people that have passed that you hold really close, and just be with them and see what lessons and messages come up. Um, there is a want for us to connect, and be able to listen to the sweetness, the joy, and the lessons inside of our lineages and our histories, to give us what we need to keep going. So that's a piece that came up from the Six of Cups. Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, Pentacles and Wands both show up inside of this reading. Pentacles are about our stability, our foundations, our home, our wealth, yeah, just the things that we sort of stand on. And wands are cards of our inspiration, our hopes, our dreams, the things we're activating toward, our art, our creativity. Um, so inside of this season, sitting with securing our foundation and rooting ourselves is going to be pretty critical so that we can dream really big, get really creative, manifest the world we're trying to live in, right? So it's both asking us to like get big and external while also like securing our footing, making sure we're on solid ground. Um, and both of these cards actually, so the Seven of Pentacles, and the King of Wands, I'm going to actually talk about them both at the same time. Um, Sevens, when they show up, tend to be periods of kind of like pause and contemplation and visioning and reflection after some change, after some big movement that's just previously occurred. So when sevens show up, it asks us to do a little bit of that pause. Um, and Seven of Pentacles is a card about exactly that. It's about pausing and contemplating, um, for what's to come. It's asking us again to do contemplation work, and it's asking us to do vision work. Getting clear about really, really, really clear. Again, I'm going to come back to what our role is, who we need ourselves to be, who we want ourselves to be, who we know we can be in this moment. Um, and start to actually write that down. Create a little bit like a vision board for yourself in some way, shape, or form. As times get hard, and they will continue to get hard, what vision is still holding you together? What vision is sort of keeping you whole? Um, the solstice is a time where we get to manifest really big. Um, the light is coming back. We're at a moment, a seasonal shift point. Um, and also, I'd argue it's a time where our ancestors actually are like closer to us during these moments of seasonal shift and change. We get reminded of it literally looking outside and seeing the world slowly, like fall to the ground, start to become fertile soil again. It's like literally like there's a letting go, that's happening in the natural environment, in winter. And so do that contemplation, do that thinking, do that reflection, get a vision board. What is going to be the vision that's going to keep you together and hold you. Because in the King of Wands, which has come up for us before, the King of Wands is really about wands being again creativity, passion, inspiration, dreams, hopes, art. And And the King energy, also in other decks that degender the tarot that I've seen, the Soul Hollow deck being one I use a lot, kind of links that card to architects and architecture. So again, back to world building. So how are you using art, creativity, fire, passion, inspiration to build the world that you want to be living in for you and for us collectively? And so it's really, this is a very active energy. It's a very, very generative. It's just like big, it's expansive, it is detailed, it is dreamy. So again, it goes back to really clearly painting this vision. I think like everything act that's coming up is about what is the vision, y'all? What is it? We got to get clear about it, and we have to um, keep it close and not let the despair, the disconnection um, overwhelm us. Uh, we have to hold on to the light of liberation, right? To the possibility of it. And so, what's that vision that you have? That's part of that larger architecture to our collective liberation. Write it down, share it with somebody. Who is the person that helps hold your vision? Who is the person that keeps you accountable to how you want to show up inside of that vision? You know, it's really important to have that community of accountability um, inside of this process. And then Wheel of Fortune is the major arcana card that shows up. Wheel of Fortune being a card of like letting go, a card of recognizing that inside of every move we make, everything we perfect, everything we um, build very thoughtfully and carefully. Inside of that, there's also a need to be with the flow and let go of the precision of it all. Um, Sometimes the precision of it all uh, can actually not get us close enough to the vision or the goal. It can leave others out of being part of the vision and the goal. Um, and it can just keep us here for way too long, you know? So there's something about the art of like mistake making, the art of trial, the art of um, practice, the art of trust uh, in doing the thing, saying the words, getting clear about your vision, listening to your ancestors, having the accountability communities you need to stay committed to that, and then just trusting and being in the flow because we are flowing toward freedom. It is inevitable, actually. Um, that much I know to be true. And we just need to continue to sharpen our language, sharpen the vision, so that way the freedom that we get to is for all of us, right? Um, with the most oppressed of us at the center of it. And so that's the piece about trust. It's about pitting the things together and sort of just like letting it go and being in the flow of it, being in the flow of newness that comes in, keeping yourself open, being okay with like making mistakes in the process, and then learning from those mistakes and trying again. Um, yeah, the letting go that has to happen too, which is also a lesson of the winter. To let go, to allow things to fall away and to be reborn, allow yourself to be reborn again in the same ways that Nature does on a regular basis. All right, that's your reading for winter solstice 2023. Thanks so much for being on this journey. I hope this provided a little bit of medicine to you, and things felt like they resonated. And if you'd like to chat more about any of what came up, um, feel free to contact me. Again, you can find me at lightalchemy.com. And I'm happy to just like talk more about how this might be impacting folks. Um, and thank you for staying committed to you and to us collectively, because we need you. We need you. Thank you so much. Gonna play some music as we transition out, and sending all the love and rest. Take care, y'all.